Hello there guys and girls, and welcome to another Total War Online battle video for Rome 2. Today I'm using Armenia, and if you saw the last battle, I was using RDI against Armenia, and I was kind of intrigued at my opponent's choice in army. And I figured, well, what's better than to play Armenia, because I don't know if you know, but I'm a huge fan of skirmish styles. I'm gonna put this on slow-mo. There's kind of a lot to talk about. First of all, I'm always a big advocate of saying, oh, look at the map before you pick your faction, and look at the map before you pick your style. I did here, and Dictator is really not the best of maps to play skirmish styles. You can see there is a plenty presence of trees and forests here, so really any player could just use these trees and kind of move around. But I think that there's also some advantage to bringing a skirmish style if you can force your opponent to kind of walk out, and there are some strategies, especially for the player that spawns uphill. So let's go ahead and take a look at my army. We can't really take a look at my opponent's army, who is using Rome. I think this is almost instantly a matchup disadvantage for him. Armenia is really strong against Rome, especially when you bring this kind of play style. So I've got 4 units of these horse archers on one flank, and you can see I'm rushing to this little empty pocket of space, and that's usually where you'll run into enemy units that are hiding on this right side. And you can see indeed he did hide some units, and he has 3 units of these soci-equites. Now these guys used to be better in previous patches, or no, those were the soci-equites extraordinaire. These are just standard soci-equites, not really that great. They lost Draco, so they kind of lost their effectiveness. So I don't know why you'd bring these, but I've got 2 units of Persian Cav, and then 3 units of Persian Cav on this flank, and then 4 units of horse archers. So this should be a fight that I ought to take without really taking any losses, or not too many losses. So I'm gonna charge in here before I want to try my hardest to kind of keep him out of the forest, and I do a decent job at that. You can see that he is kind of in the forest, but slightly on the edge. And this is basically going to allow for my horse archers to kind of come in here, park up, and then heavy shot the rear of his units. And there we go, I got more coming in to support. So this was, I think, a good kind of map understanding on my side at least. And when you are playing Dictator and you're spawning here on the right, just keep in mind that if you have units running forward and then he has units running forward in both these forests, this open patch of space is really where they're going to be meeting. I don't know if this was designed by CA, but I sure hope so, because this is a nice balancing factor. Kind of gives you something to play towards when you use the forest. So he's chasing the rest of my horse archers. I put these guys off of fire at will mode. I know I'm going to need my ammunition, and this is actually a very important point. When you are using skirmishers, especially horse skirmishers, you don't really want them to be firing at anything they get in range of. They're fast, they're great at kind of baiting enemy units out of position. So you can see here I'm going to try to bait this guy out of the trees to get better charges with my Persians. But he's not really going to, I think he's focused on this other side. And yeah, you don't really have to have fire at will on at all times. And I'm almost certain that he's going to have some kind of spearman, given that I brought Armenia. So let's take a look at the rest of my army. We said we've got 3 Persian Cav and 4 horse archers on one flank. My general is really the only heavy cataphract unit I do have. It's a royal cataphract, and he is a warrior general. I think that's very important. And then this is what I was talking about in the last video. Foot skirmishers are very important with Armenia because they kind of give you the initiative power. Now I can kind of come forward, pepper my opponent's army, and kind of force him to move and force him to play towards me. And I'm just gonna split my archers here. And you can see that I don't really have infantry. My archers are supported by 4 units of noble blood cav. 90 hit points on a melee cav unit that's this cheap. I think their 750 is just... it's great. They're almost as good as Tarentine cav. I love Tarentine cav. And then here at the back I've got 2 more units of Persian Cavalry. Now, one more reason I wanted to play with Armenia is I read the Prussian Prince actually was reading the patch notes to me for the next patch, patch 16. And Pontus, which happens to be my favorite faction, is actually getting Persian Cav, Cappadocian Cav, and I think another unit. This is a little mistake here from me. See, I should have ran these guys further back, but they kind of get stuck. But yeah, Pontus is getting a huge unit edition. I think 3 units. There's one more unit, but I can't remember what it was. But that is so good. They're gonna be even better now. Especially that chariots are most definitely going to get nerfed. So that was my army. Let's take a look at my opponent's army. He's brought Armored Legionnaires, Evocati Cohort. Armored Legionnaires is a good choice. Evocati Cohort is also a good choice. You can see he's brought the heavy armored kind of legionary troops, 1995, and then Triarii are obviously pretty good for this matchup, but then again, with the loss of his cav and the fact that he only has 3 auxiliaries, this is going to be now kind of a surround game on my part, and you can see I'm just bringing everything in, and now I'm just going to pick them apart. And there's really not much to talk about here. You can see that my main targets initially are going to be the skirmishers. By killing his skirmishers off, I can maximize the efficiency of my own skirmishers, who can then start firing uncontested, especially given that I took out his cav early on. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And the way you want to do that is, look, I'm not really taking like mass fights. These 3 units of auxiliary Syrian archers, if I just lined up my 5 archer units and started firing at them, and they fought back, they would decimate my 5 eastern archers easily. Maybe with the help of my horse archers, I might have been able to kind of win that fight, but then I won't have much skirmishing remaining for the very late game, when his Triarii and his high armored units are going to be alive. And Triarii are a unit where, like, honestly, they can survive so many charges in this square formation from almost anything. I've been in so many situations where I kill everything my opponent has except like 2 or 3 Triarii units, and then I charge in everything and they still don't break. So I'm very wary of this, and I'm trying my best to look. It's separated. Like, my skirmishing units are kind of distributed around the battlefield, dealing with different threats. And I'm hoping that my opponent's attention is going to be kind of split apart, or maybe he's looking here, looking there, trying to micro somewhere else, and that's going to give me time and openings to take care of his skirmishers, which I've done. So no more skirmishers for him. And I do lots of skirmishing videos on the channel, so you've probably either grown sick of this by now, or maybe you've been trying your own skirmishing and it's not kind of been working for you, and it's always fun to reiterate. So basically, when you're skirmishing against an opponent, especially like Rome, your threats are like cav. You want to get rid of the cav first, you want to then get rid of the skirmishers, and then you kind of want to leave your skirmishers ammo. You need to be very careful with the use of ammo. So you can see this unit here, it hasn't been firing. It's off of fire at will. It's not really firing at this unit at all. There's no reason for me to be firing with this one. I'll let my foot archers do that, and I'll keep the ammo on this one because this guy has heavy shot. And heavy shot is really good in the late game when your opponent kind of balls up and you're trying your best to shoot them down. But again, it's kind of like resource management, really, because I looked at my remaining ammo and my skirmishing units. I took a look at his units, and I realized that now that his skirmishers are gone and now that his cav is gone, my noble blood cav don't really have much of a use. He's going to be stationary for the most part. They're not really going to be doing much. I need to find targets like this with shock cav and kind of deal with them. So I throw like 3 units of nobles with my general into these legionaries, and this is going to achieve several things. First of all, it's going to tire them out. You can see they're exhausted, and this one is winded. It's going to get very tired quickly. It dwindles them down. It does HP chip damage, and that's just going to allow me to... It's going to be easier to kill him with the remainder of my skirmishing. And you can see I've got lots of skirmishing left, actually. This guy over here has been firing at the Triarii. He's killed 54 of them, and now it's actually routing, which is kind of surprising. And then there's a few more horse archers here. I think at this point I only run out with one of my horse archer units, which, if you remember, was the one over here that was firing at the rear of those Soki Equites. So the Triarii are going to come in now, and I think I'm going to start pulling my general out and targeting. Now I target the Triarii that's in this fight with all of my skirmish units. So here's my general. He's just trying to get out of that fight, but there's Triarii right on the exit. I probably... See, this is a mistake. I probably should have pulled out here. Always before pulling out, just kind of look to see where your opponent is, because this was, I kind of ran through the most dense place. It's really bad. So Triarii are gonna come into the fight, and then they're going to square up. I'm gonna try to prevent units from coming into this fight. This one is too full, 120, and it's too close to the fight, so I just bypass it, and I'm gonna rush in here with my Persian Cav. Persian Cav are so good. 95 hit points, 67 charge bonus, and they cost 760. I liken them to Soki Equites in like olden, or Soki Equites Extraordinaire in previous patches. So now it's pretty straightforward. You can see like there's no more units, and his hurt legionnaires. This one actually just came into the fight. Have all but routed. And now I'm just going to A move. Control A, and then that selects all your units, and just alt click, and I'm just gonna cave in onto his troops. So I think that's how you play. That's how I like to play Armenia. Honestly, if you bring more than 3 or 4 spear units in Armenia, you are either limited by tournament rules, or you're maybe not comfortable with skirmishing as much. But you should not really be using infantry as your core at all. Cav and skirmishers should be your focus. I will say that my opponent didn't. I think he might have been a new player because he didn't really bring as many units as he could have. For example, these 3 Cav units are completely useless in this matchup. The upgrades on his armored legionnaires, I would have just brought like other maybe weaker spear units, or maybe some hastari. Hastari are surprisingly good against Cav in long grinds. Maybe one more Triarii, but yeah, again, it looks like he wasn't like extremely, or not, probably just new to the game. But still, I kind of wanted to show you guys this kind of cute build from Armenia. In most tournaments, this would not be legal. Tournaments usually max you to 10 cav, but let's talk about that. I wanted to do this so we can talk about that. So what if you're limited to 10 cav units with Armenia? What do? Well, you probably add 1 more archer. So we need to remove these 4 guys, right? Or like 4 cav in general. I would take out 2 Persian cav, bring the Persian cav total to 3. I would take 1 noble blood cav out and maybe add another cataphract, so that would bring us to 11, and then take 1 more horse archer out, so you'll have 3 horse archers, you'll have 2 cataphracts, you'll have 3 noble blood cav, and then you'll have 2 Persian cav. Yeah, that sounds right. And then with whatever money you have left, buy some Persian hoplites and maybe 1 or 2 axe units. So yeah, that's battle number 2 for the day. I hope you guys enjoyed some Armenia action. Looking forward to patch 16. Actually, if you haven't checked out the patch notes, go read them. There's lots of changes to the multiplayer of the game in terms of unit stats and pricing and whatnot. So hopefully that will make Rome 2 a little bit better. I know for a fact the chariots are gonna get nerfed, so thank God for that. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. Take care. So I've basically deployed my line into, as I said, 4 different contingents. I've got the left wing of Illyrian hoplites. This is my most numerous and most aggressive flank. This is the flank that's going to be doing the pivoting. And then I've got my Illyrian noble hoplites forming the center of my line, and on the flank I've got these Thurio spears. Now, the logic behind this is that you can see I've placed most of my punching power on the left side, and it just so happened that my opponent kind of deployed